engage you in the proposal writing process. So welcome to this evening's online workshop, Grant Writing, Persuasive Proposals. I'm Dr. Rania Mohammed Rafik Khalil. I'm the Acting Director of the Research Center for Irish Studies at the British University in Egypt. I'm also the Research and Postgraduate Studies Coordinator for the Faculty of Arts and Humanities at the BUE. This evening, we're going to be looking at how to write a persuasive grant proposal, how to obtain funding, and what to look for when you are you finally decided on writing a research or persuasive grant proposal. What to look for, how to write it, and how you might be evaluated. And ensure that you successfully obtain the grant that you had initially sought to obtain. So by the end of this workshop, you should be able to adapt your writing of the research, of your proposal or the grant proposal to different readers, because sometimes the panel that's evaluating your research proposal or your project proposal or grant proposal come from diverse disciplines. You should be able by the end to structure your proposal so it's easy to follow. So there's a structure for that, and I'll share that with you. And you will be required to write a sample or draft grant proposal using persuasive language. And finally, what to expect and how to ensure that by the end you've actually sold your idea to the funding organization. I'm just sharing with you here the grants that we've obtained since 2017. Hope you can see my full slide. Yeah. All right, so we've obtained from the UNHCR $52,000 in funding, and I wrote the research, proposal for that. It was a call by the British Council in collaboration with the UNHCR, and I basically, very simply, all I did was go on Google and wrote down funding, opportunities. And at that time it was 2017, in 2017. And Google just shared with me a whole long list of, open calls for funding. And this one caught my attention. This particular one, the UNHCR and British Council was okay, so going to $52,000. I think I was muted by my host. All right, so number one for this research.
Apologies, Dr. Rania, I was trying to take off the voice in the background with other participants. Yes.
No, I'm aware of that. Yes, I realize that. So this call for funding from the UNHCR and the British Council in 2017 required that the applicant, which was me at that time, do two things. Do a research consultancy that led initially, to a research project, and then finally to a research publication. So it was a quite a difficult call for funding, and the proposal had to be quite persuasive to say why us three, all right, are suitable to represent the BUE to carry out this research consultancy, the research project, and write a research paper and publish it, and share it at a conference and publish it. We did get it. It was the very first grant that I'd ever obtained for the university. And it was the application was quite challenging. how to read the call for funding is a skill. To address the needs of the funder and to persuasively show that you as an institution or as a team are capable of meeting their needs is important. You also have to have the skill of putting together a budget that beats your competitors. You're not the only one applying. So that's again something that's important to take into account, as well as the background of the researchers and what they can do and the skills they can bring into that project. So that was one of the biggest research consultancies that we've done on behalf of the BUE. And there's us here, you can see UNHCR, and I think that was in Jordan. And this project covered Lebanon, Jordan, Turkey, and Iraq. And it was about the perceptions of young Syrian refugees of higher education in host nations. So that was a winning call for proposals. And then we had a number of grants obtained from Culture Ireland. And again, their call for funding is quite, it's quite demanding, and you have to pay attention to a lot of details. So each one actually is different. And then we also collaborated with the Embassy of Ireland, and I didn't know that also embassies offered funding and grants, and and so it's not just the Embassy of Ireland. I mean, I'm sure other embassies do the same. And I came across this by mere coincidence. And so also I've obtained funding from the Embassy of Ireland here in Egypt. And the last one is from the Department of Foreign Affairs in Ireland, the Irish government. This is the most recent grant obtained for 2021-2022. So these have been grants that have been obtained from 2017 to 2021.
MashaAllah, this is wonderful. Yeah, it's beautiful, of course.
Thank you very much. So let's go on to our first activity, just as our opening, activity. When we say persuasive proposal or an academic proposal or a research proposal for funding or grant, what key words come to mind? And in addition to that, what would be your definition of a grant or academic proposal? Would someone like to contribute to that? Would someone like to make a contribution?
Of course, the audience, they can use the chat, or you can just unmute and engage in the discussion.
Yeah.
And if I may, I can go. Yeah, I could just who do you think a proposal is for?
Give it a shot. Yes, go ahead.
Yeah. Okay. So a proposal means it's a capture of a vision. It's something like I want to do something and I have a vision for that. There's an end goal, and the end goal, there's a lot of stakeholders. So many people will be beneficiaries. So the proposal should be persuasive because it's competitive.
Yes. Okay. Excellent. Yes.
And Ghada here has a say. Ghada just says that the proposal is something, it's a summary or a map for my research. It's presented for a certain place to accept it.
Exactly, for a certain place, and that's a key word. So who do you think a grant proposal is written for? And that's a question open, an open floor discussion.
Universities. Ghada says universities.
Universities. Okay.
I would say research support centers. Anybody who thinks out there are people who have great ideas, but we want them to actually execute on them.
Yeah. So. Yes. And so proposals are also target funding bodies, NGOs, industry. and other organizations that may be interested in. And yes, I think universities is also good, because sometimes universities offer funding for particular projects. So yes, I mean, all the answers have been correct, actually. Right. Okay, now I'm going to be sharing in the chat box. Right, I want to go back to, perhaps I need to stop sharing. Yeah. What I'm going to be doing is sharing in the chat box and can I send attachments here?
Yes, you can. Of course.
A sample proposal, okay?
Mm-hmm.
So this is a sample proposal. UTIKE. Now I've made up the name, but all right, here it is in the chat box.
Yes.
And I hope everyone can access that and take a look.
Mm-hmm.
If you want, I'm going to be sending a couple of documents here. So
yes, please, that's nice.
Yeah, so. And here's a sample proposal. Don't cheat and look at the sample proposal now. Okay. That should be later. That should be like the answer. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And here's sections for a proposal and how we're going to be writing one. Right. And here's a proposal template. And the final document is the language. You know, what sort of language we're going to be using in our proposal.
Mm-hmm.
And I've got one more document, is matching our proposal to the needs of the funding body, which is important. Right, I've sent all the documents. And I'm going to ask you, please, to take a look at the research proposal sample I've shared.
Okay.
The UTIKE proposal sample. And that's the call for proposals. And it says here, UTIKE is for researchers of any discipline who wish to visit research institutes outside of their home country to develop new knowledge, skills, professional relationships, or ideas. So basically, it's telling you what this institution does. And so it's offering possibly some funding for researchers who want to travel outside to gain knowledge, skills, and also network and develop professional relations, and also collaborate on international ideas. So, and they've said here, UTIKE is used for learning about cutting edge techniques and practices, developing new lines of research, exploring how the work of other disciplines applies or connects. So this is like interdisciplinary research and partnership, developing understanding of organizational best practice. So if you want to get professional development related to supporting research, bringing innovation and creativity into teaching and learning. So this is about also collaborating, getting funding to collaborate on teaching and learning, and exchanging ideas. So when you're writing your proposal, or when you're looking at this call for proposals, what are some of the key things you're going to highlight or annotate? So you know that these are the things you're going to be targeting as you write your proposal. What would be some of the key things? I'm going to go back and share my screen. Do you want me to share the document? Can you see it?
Yes, I can see the documents, and I wonder, because some people are asking, the documents are there,
Yeah.
Okay, they are in an orderly manner. So she's referring to the U type, which is the first one.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's also here on the screen. So what would be some of the key things you're going to be highlighting? So you've seen this for the first time and you want to apply for funding to this UTIC organization or funding body. What are you going to be looking at? Or what are you going to highlight? What would be the key things? What's important in this document? Now, mind you, this is a tiny one. Some of them are like 30 or 50 pages long.
Yeah.
So what would be key information to look at? Some key information would be who are the target audience? Researchers of any discipline. So that's inviting. So if it's researchers for any discipline, it means, oh, anyone can apply. And if anyone can apply, but apply to do what? So this funding will be used for travel. And if you're going to be writing a proposal for this, so you're going to be using it to travel abroad, but you're going to be traveling abroad to do what? You have to meet their needs. So develop new knowledge or develop or acquire new skills, networking, which is professional relations, or exchange ideas. So your research proposal or your grant proposal will have to include one of those. And it will have to state that you want the money to travel abroad. But you also, I believe, need to be more specific and indicate travel abroad where specifically and what you're going to be doing.
So I have a question here. The four things that they are developing new knowledge, skills, the professional relationships, and the ideas. So what do they expect? Like chart out a map of expert meetings that someone wants to hold and maybe come back with idea for a book or something. So these are like giving promises, things they want to do to capitalize on the chance to travel.
Yes, exactly. And you will have to, like, if you say, I'm going to go develop new knowledge, is like you have to indicate what sort of knowledge you're going to be gaining when you travel abroad. Are you going to be building on existing research, possibly? Are you going to collaborate together with a new discipline to create some sort of borderline knowledge that hasn't been explored, that's been in the gray area for a very long time, and you want to explore it with another partner institution or a researcher from another institution? If you're going to be traveling abroad using their funding and you're going to develop skills that maybe perhaps that are not available in your country, like get trained on how to use a specific equipment in a specific lab for research that you need to be doing back home in your own institution, something of the sort. And professional relationships, if you're going to be traveling abroad to network, networking is important when it comes to research, because you need to collaborate with international researchers. And ideas, of course, is brainstorming, and that's a tricky one. So I personally wouldn't write a grant proposal and say, I'm going to be traveling abroad to collect ideas, unless the discipline is perhaps something like film or, something that's, or art or folklore or, something that, is reasonable and acceptable. So if you go down a bit and you read the rest of their call for proposals, they're encouraging people not to think traditionally. It says, we encourage you to be bold in your proposals and expansive in your thinking. So here they're saying is, the crazier your grant proposal, the more you have a higher chance of it being accepted. So that's a key word. I mean, it's not so easy to spot and understand what's written between the lines, but what they're saying here is, be creative, think outside the box, offer us something that's different. We don't want traditional, grant proposals or persuasive proposals for you to get our money. We want something that's new. Let's see what else they say. We will support individuals that have unique and high quality research projects. So that's a key word. Why? Because they're saying, well, if you don't have a history of high quality research, your chances are not so high. So they want someone who has a track record of high quality research and research that is unique. Another criteria is of the people that will support their proposals is that those who are forward thinking. So those who have clear thinking, your ideas need to be written clearly. If your ideas are great, but they're not written clearly in your grant proposal, well, that's going to take away from your chances of your grant proposal being accepted. And then we move on to say open-minded. So they want someone, what would open-minded mean to you if you were writing a grant proposal for this organization? When you see the word open-minded, what would that mean to you?
Open-minded to accept the culture itself and accept everything around him, very ready to change his thoughts and minds, his mindset, I mean, to be open-minded, to accept everything around him and be changeable. Of course, have the passion to learn more about what's around him. Thank you.
Thank you, Isra. Yes, someone who's open-minded, because possibly you're going to be working with other people. And if you're not going to be flexible, that's going to be, that might be an obstacle for you and for the rest of the team and for achieving the outcome of your grant proposal. So they want people who have certain traits in their character. So they're also, so here, these two lines are actually quite important. They're saying it has to be unique. So the word unique means they're going to be looking for something that's special. So it's we shouldn't just skip across the words like this. Every word means something when you're reading a call for proposals for a grant. They're not going to give their money away just because you want the money. So it has to be individuals that have unique, high quality research and forward thinking. So they know what they want. Their vision is clear, open-minded. So again, this is in their personality, their character. And above all, look at this one, excellent communicators. So look how many requirements in those two lines. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 requirements. So you need to make sure you actually meet those requirements before you even start writing your grant proposal. Now, is that it? Nope. I mean, I like this company. I made up the name, okay? But the call for proposals is real. All right, I just changed the name. What else are they looking for? We look for work that has the potential to be groundbreaking. Oh, wow. And that's not easy at all. Groundbreaking, wow. So that has to be super special. Quite intimidating. It's groundbreaking, so it's new, it's a hot topic. That's basically what groundbreaking means. Based on project plans that are specific. Now they're saying it يعني مش حاجة وهمية يعني. It's like, do not dream and dream and dream and dream. No, dream, be unique, make sure it's a hot topic, it's groundbreaking, but it's also very specific. So when they say that project plans that are specific, that means they're not going to be looking at any grant proposal that's just a holistic one, or one that's going to give an overview, but one that has paid attention to detail. And then it says realistic. So they're saying dream big, but make sure your dream is achievable. All right, and realistic in their immediate goals. So when we look at this last bit, you know, I like the way this grant proposal, you know, call for proposals has been written. The person has used every word carefully. And immediate goals, what does that mean? What does that tell you when you're writing? How is this guiding your proposal? What's that telling you? What's the message here?
They want it to be measurable, and they are looking for results.
Yes, exactly. Measurable, of course, when they're saying it's, project plans that are specific and measurable and realistic, yes. But when they're saying in their immediate goals, what are they actually saying?
Maybe they are saying the goals are going to be achieved immediately. They are going to do some research or some experiments, and they are going to achieve them after they do the research.
Yes, Huda, it means when they want saying immediate goals, they're not saying after, here's my proposal because I'm going to travel and I'm going to take your money and I'm going to think up of something, but it will happen after 100 years.
Yeah, they want to be immediate, yeah, after a very short time.
Exactly. So basically, the guidance here is when you're writing your research proposal or your grant proposal, you need to make sure that the timeline for the completion or the start to end of your research project or research consultancy or whatever you're going to be doing with the money they're going to give you gives them immediate results. So can you see also the way they've written everything? I mean, this is just someone who really has really good writing skills. I mean, it's just very specific. Every word is used in the right way and it's guiding you. So breaking this up to guide the writing of your grant proposal is the start. Now, once you've read this, you need to really think carefully if what they're offering is something you can meet. So this is called matching, all right, your ideas to the funders' needs. Do you have the capacity to deliver? All right, once you get the money, are you meeting their needs? Because if you're not, and you're writing something, they're offering something, or they want something, and you're writing something else, you think they're going to give you their money? No, you won't get their money. All right. So this is just a sample of breaking it down. Here it tells you how much money you're going to be getting and what you can use it for. Again, this is really important for you as someone who's looking for a funding opportunity to know how much money you can get and what you can get it or use it for. So I'm not going to break this down. Would someone like to break this down and share it with us? It's right there on the screen.
Which part you mean, the value or the time duration?
No, this one, the part about the money.
Okay.
It's important to read this in detail. Right, so UTIC value awards are available from 5,000 euros to 50,000 euros. What does that first line initially, tell you?
I think they are telling us that they will cover the travel expenses, maybe if there is a flight or something, flight ticket, maybe.
Okay, well, it says here, let's see, awards can cover
Travel.
travel, exactly. So first of all, you know how much money there is. So I think it's important to know, to keep in mind that, how much money you can get, because you're going to have to think, well, how much money do I actually need for my projects?
Yeah, it's a big range. It's a big range of.
It is. Yes,
Yeah.
I was thinking so too. It's a big range, 5,000 to 50,000. What will stop anyone from saying, okay, I want 50,000?
No, it's according to proposal.
Yes, perfect. Yes, excellent. Yes, that was a trick question, but yes, you caught that immediately. Thank you. Yes. So again, before we move on, Huda, based on what you were saying, yes, it's according to the proposal. One of the errors that we can easily make is
that we expect they will grant us a lot of money and we don't meet they don't meet our expectations,
and we don't meet their expectations. Also, sometimes a mistake that many grant writers do is they don't put an appropriate budget. Sometimes it's too low.
Yeah.
And I have to admit, I'm guilty of that. I put once a budget that was too low for the proposal I was putting forward. And that was one of the reasons, well, I mean, I got feedback and I was told this is too low. Would you like to adjust the budget? So it wasn't rejected. I was very lucky. But I got feedback from the reviewers, and I didn't actually expect that. I didn't know that was actually possible, that you can get feedback, that your proposal would be accepted, but you get feedback and they say, would you be willing to amend this? And one of the comments I got in one of the proposals was, your budget is too low. Would you like to adjust that?
This is very interesting. This is totally interesting. I mean, it's amazing. So this means that you were trying hard to adjust the budget to the minimum so that you get the actual proposal accepted. But it's like counterintuitive. It's like they say. So how did you fix that? Is it the train system that you added? How did you adjust? It
wasn't much, but Dr. Ghada, you were very right in what you pointed out. Because again, your projects or your proposals have to show a budget that's cost effective, in sense of you're not wasting money. There's no hemorrhage of money anywhere. There isn't luxurious expenditures anywhere. Every penny or every cent or every Egyptian pound has to be used, purposely. So I was very keen on ensuring that, I was being cost effective so I can beat my competitors who are applying. And I thought I was doing the right thing. So my greatest surprise, like you said, was that my proposal got accepted, but the feedback was, well, it's too low. Would you be willing to adjust this? And adjusting it simply meant I had to do two things. Number one, redistribute the money in different areas, and add areas, or increase the amount dedicated to a certain category. Like, let's say for travel, let's see what they're covering, and I'll give you an example. So the money here, or the grant that UTIC is offering, should be able to cover travel. So that's important. So they'll pay for travel, sustenance, and that's good because sometimes they don't. That's food, communication and meeting expenses. So if you have a meeting and you need to meet someone and that's going to cost money, you can cover that. Resource purchases. So if you need to buy, resources, books, whatever these resources are. Okay, so that's generous. A percentage of administration costs. Okay, so if you've got admin, if you're going to be doing the admin work, or you have someone who's going to be doing admin work for you, and you want to pay them, you can. Replacement cost to provide cover whilst overseas. Okay, I don't know what that is, but contribution was replacement costs. When you come across something that you don't know what it is, there's no problem at all. And it's not going to jeopardize your chances of your proposal being accepted or rejected if you send an email, all right, to them and say, where's, here it is, and say, what is this? Can you explain further to me? Because they're always willing to do so. All right, they're always willing to answer questions, and they prefer you answer questions and you get it right, as opposed to getting a whole bunch of, grant proposals that don't meet their needs. All right, so any other reasonable request that will make your visit and stay viable and productive? Well, they're very nice and generous. Usually they're not that generous. Okay, however, they do have a condition. We do not cover the traveling, salaries. So you're not going to get a salary. You're going to you're eligible to have all your costs of your travel covered, but you will not be getting, like, let's say this grant proposal covers a project of a duration of 2 years. Well, the money needs to cover all your expenses for 2 years, but you won't be getting any paid salary for it. Your salary, you get it from your original job. So that's something important. So you know that in your budget, you're going to be dividing the budget to cover those areas, and you may not add a section for salaries. You can't. Right, so again, this is key information for you before you start writing your grant proposal. Now the duration, yes, as Dr. Ghada was saying, single short visits, when we're talking about the duration, single, so one time. You may not go to the same place several times using the same travel grant. Single and a short visit. And it could be a new or existing partner institute, or a series of multiple countries up to a maximum. So here, all right, that you have a limit to the duration of your project. 18 months, that's a key word. Okay. Visit should be no less than 4 working days. So you also have a minimum duration. So your minimum duration of the whole, project that is being funded by UTIC should not be less than 4 days and per visit, and not more than 2 months, but the whole duration of the research project should not exceed 18 months. Right, and they have a deadline. Of course, I made up this deadline. The name here is not a real company. Again, I'm saying the proposal is a real proposal, all right, but the name of the company or the organization is not real, and I made up this deadline. So please Don't write the research proposal and send it immediately before, in 2 days' time. And they're saying here, send us a proposal. A proposal should be a Word document. So they also have a format. So you need to know that it's a Word document. Length of it is 3 pages. And it's important you stick to their format. Because they, and this was something I got this as feedback from a member of a proposal panel. And they said, but it wasn't for me, it was just a discussion. That if you can't meet the very simple format of how they want the proposal, they're not going to bother reading the rest of your proposal, because if you can't get that one right, then immediately they have the impression that you probably can't get anything else beyond that right either. Very harsh judgment, I would say. I think it's very harsh, because sometimes you can mess up the format, but you've really got good content. So please be very careful when you are drafting your proposals to meet the requirements of their format. And they're saying that the smallest font size accepted is Arial 11. You may include tables and other graphics if you wish. What else do they have? Okay, proposals must. So it's like a checklist. It's important that you go through the checklist. Some funding agencies have checklists. Others do not have a checklist. And if they do not offer you a checklist, I suggest that you create your own checklist. All right. And proposal musts. It should have an executive summary. And if you don't know what an executive summary is, it's basically like half a page, but they tell you of no more than 50 words. Here it is, 50 words. Ooh, that's very concise. All right. 50 words telling them everything about your projects. And when I say everything, I'll share with you in a minute what that is. And it's an active voice, concise, specific, short, the goals, duration. Tell us who you are and why we should support you. Tell us your professional ambitions and how we can help you. Tell us how this will benefit the field. Yeah, of course, that you are going to be working on. And here they're saying you don't need to give us a breakdown of the costs. Most funding agencies require a breakdown of the costs, but these people are very nice. They don't want a breakdown of the costs. But you must state clearly how much you wish to receive. And look at the keywords. You will keep the cost down, so you shouldn't be spending, luxuriously.
Dr. Rania, you were so kind to suggest that we keep track of the keywords and create our own checklist, which is a very helpful tip. This is really, really good to know. And the other thing is, if they are not asking for the breakdown of the budget, how would you be able to adjust the cost? So again, I'm referring to your experience. How are you able to go upwards if it's what I can imagine is transportation? If it's anywhere in Germany, for example, you would put in the train cost, and this balances everything.
Well, I've never seen this one says you don't have to give us a breakdown, but maybe they want, you do not need to send us a breakdown, but you must state clearly how much you wish to receive. So you're going to tell them, these people simply want to know, do you want 5,000? Do you want 50,000, 10,000? But again, they want you, rather than show them a breakdown, tell us how you will keep costs down and what in-kind or other grant support you expect to generate. So here they're saying, this one's a bit complicated and each one's different. Here they're saying, don't give us a breakdown, just tell us you want 5,000, 10,000 or 20,000, but also tell us if you're going to be, how you're going to generate more money from another place and how you're going to keep it cost effective. So these people want you to ask for money, but if they're saying keep the cost down, here's the key word is well, don't ask for a big budget, basically. In my personal experience, I've always had to break down the budget. I've never given it holistically. I give it holistically, but I also offer a breakdown, even if they're not asking for a breakdown. It's important for me. I do end up having to need it later on in the breakdown, during the project or towards the end of the project, because they always ask you for receipts and they always ask you for what. So here initially, even my advice and thank you for raising this, Dr. Ghada, is that even if they're saying we don't want a breakdown, give it to them as they want it, but also add the breakdown. Even if you put it in an annex, sometimes having an annex to your proposal is important, where you can add supplementary documents. So it would be the breakdown of the budget, or it could be the CV of your team members. So the reason I went through this in detail is because this is actually a crucial stage when you're writing your proposal. So having said that, I'm just going to share with you, and you already have this, the document that has it's called the template or the sections of the proposal. So if you can open that document. Sections of the proposal, right? You can still see my screen, right? Or not yet? Or not yet?
No, the screen is not shared.
Okay, so so this one's called sections of the proposal, and you already have that.
Your screen is not sharing yet.
Yes, I'm sharing it now. Here we are, sections of the proposal. Right. Now it's important as you start writing your proposal and make sure it's persuasive, you're going to be adding the executive summary, all the essential information in 50 words. Now, what would you include in 50 words? Can I ask someone to share their thoughts? And I know we need to keep track of time as well.
Okay, we can put information about what I want to have the grant. What is the title of my proposal?
Yes, that's number one, the title of your proposal. Perfect.
The title, then the aims, or what I'm going to do to achieve.
Yes, perfect. So in 50 words, you need to have, first of all, a title for your proposal. You need to explain in 50 words, the aim of your proposal. And the aim is, this is the subject or the discipline area. That's what I want to achieve. And this is the outcome. And this is the duration. So, and that's in 50 words. Beyond that, as you break it down, you need to also think of what challenges are going to be ahead. What do you need? What you're going to be needing? And here it says the objectives and also what you're asking for. I want your money because I want to do this. You have to convince them why you want their money and why you should be the one out of 100 other applicants to give you their money. And how you're going to achieve what you're going to achieve. And after that, after you finish that section, you need to have so the first part of your proposal has a title, the aims, and sometimes they say in more than 50 words. So here this is quite tight. And then the aims of your project, the main ideas and aim of your project, and why you want money. And after that, you're going to highlight your qualifications, as well the qualifications of your team members. Now I showed you the picture of myself and my team members, and they were chosen for a purpose. I mean, all right, and the strength that they can bring to the project. And that would be followed by your budget. And if you give a holistic budget, my advice is also include a breakdown of the budget in an annex, okay? And the duration of your project. Now, we read the call for proposals, and they said it's a maximum of 18 months. So you need to make sure it doesn't exceed 18 months and that your budget does not exceed 50,000, and that what you're asking for matches the amount of money your budget, and it doesn't have to be the 50,000, and it doesn't have to be the 5,000. It could be somewhere in between. And you also need to include in that your contact details. Now, when we looked at the call for proposals, the call for proposal, it said it covered travel and sustenance, food and meetings and all this. So that would go in your budgets, all right? In the breakdown of your budget, that needs to be there. Any questions so far? Any questions so far?
Well, I think it's pretty clear. It's very helpful what you're sharing, Yani, quite insightful.
All right. Well, the task would be write your draft proposal and share it. Now, I'm quite conscious of the time that we have 4 minutes left. So I will leave that to you. And if you have a grant proposal that you're writing, I'd be more than happy if you send it to Dr. Ghada and she shares it with me for me to take a look at it. Now, I'm not claiming to be an expert, please, and I'm in no way an expert, but I can guide and help as a colleague who's been through a lot of grant proposals, very tough ones, and I would be more than happy to be your sounding board should you wish for someone to take a look at it. So I would be more than happy if you sent it to Dr. Ghada, and Dr. Ghada would share it with me. And I'd be more than happy to tell you, what needs to be added or omitted, or we can read the grant call for proposals together if you like, if that's something you need as support.
Thank you so much, Dr. Rania. This is very kind of you, of course, to offer. And by all means, be my guest, because this is a premium licensed account. So the time here it's up to us. So just use all the time you need if you wish.
All right, okay. Well, thank you. Well, let's move on to evaluating criteria. So if you were on the panel, now switch personas. You're no longer the person submitting the proposal, but you're the person evaluating the proposal. So these are some things you would certainly look at. The research quality, well, first of all, let's even start before that. Like I said, and this was feedback from one of the panel members on one of the international organizations that were offering a huge fund in thousands and thousands, was that the format of the proposal. The ones I've worked on have always shared a format for their proposal, for their grant proposal. So do be conscious of what they're they're asking for, and follow it to a T. Because like I said, this panel member said, if they can't get the format right, I very much doubt they're going to get the rest, right. So your grant proposal will be excluded, sadly. So that's the number one, is the format. Number two, and quite importantly, is the title of your project. It has to be clear. And it has to immediately catch the attention of the funder. The title needs to be clear. What is this grant for? Thirdly, and sometimes they have a way, they actually tell you how they want you to write the proposal, so which information comes first. But in all cases, the information they're all asking for is mostly the same. The aim of the project, what you're going to achieve, the duration of how long you're going to achieve this in, and what is the outcome, and how is this beneficial to the field that you're serving? You know, what are you going to add? What's unique about what you're going to give? What's different? What are you bringing that's new? Because each funder wants to benefit in a sense of, they want something that's, oh wow, we did this, with our money because this researcher, did that. So make sure your idea is unique, it's groundbreaking, like they said, that it shows you're open-minded, and you're going to be able to show you're open-minded possibly by the ideas you're sharing and the team you're working with, if you are working with a team. So the quality of your communication also is important. So if you're not very good at the first language you're writing in, whether that is in Arabic or in English, it is wise to get someone to proofread that for you. And I sometimes do that if this something is in Arabic. I ask a colleague and they actually are very supportive and they help me with the Arabic. And I think that's very collegial and very decent of them. If it's in English, I help others, review their work. And it doesn't matter if that person is a professor or someone, or an associate professor or a lecturer or a teaching assistant. It doesn't matter. There's nothing to be embarrassed about. Getting your the quality of your communication is crucial. If the quality of your communication is not at high standards, your proposal can suffer great losses simply because of bad grammar or poor vocabulary. And at the same time, you want to be persuasive. So you can't be persuasive if you've got bad grammar and poor vocabulary. So please, and sometimes there's also services that offer editing and, and proofreading. So you can use those services. So the quality of your communication is just as important as the quality of your ideas. Even far more important is highlighting your qualifications and the qualifications of the team members that are with you. Why are you the right person to do this task? Why should they trust you with their money? Why should they consider you and not, the other person who also applied? And then comes the budget. The budget is crucial. You have to be competitive. And don't make the mistake I did of making it too low so that it's cost effective. And don't make the mistake, which I've not made, of making it too high and asking for too much money. All right, so, and when divide the budget according to what they said they will cover. Do not put an item in your budget which they said they will not cover or they did not mention. If you feel there's a need to add in your budget an item that they've not said they will cover, again, I'm making this recommendation. Do email them and ask them first before including it in your budget and submitting your final grant proposal. Ask them. They usually have contact emails for those who want to ask questions before a certain deadline. So sometimes the call for proposals for grants, is out, is out early December, and then they say 2 weeks before the deadline for submission, you can ask questions, but after 1 day before the deadline, you may not ask any more questions. So be conscious of the time frame in which you are allowed to ask questions. So don't wait till the last minute to ask questions and realize right before you submit the proposal on the same day, oh, I need to ask them a question now. No, ask sometimes there's a time frame where you can ask questions and then they don't answer your questions anymore. And additionally, what else they would be looking at is the duration in which you're going to complete your project. And if it's reasonable and realistic, again, this is something that's really important. Just as important as the budget has to be realistic, so is your time frame. You can't say, I'm going to be doing a research consultancy and publishing a paper in 2 days. I mean, I'm being, of course, ironic in exaggerating my example, but your time frame for the completion of your project that you've obtained the grant must be realistic. And sometimes they ask for a breakdown. Like if it's a 2-year project, in that case, it's 18 months. You're going to say in the first maybe month, I'll be collecting data. From the second to from the month, second to the 6 months, I'm going to be writing a research paper. And from, say February to April, I'm going to be, doing skills, obtaining new skills. So you've got to be quite specific on what you're going to be doing during that duration and dividing it according to a specific timeline. All right. I have shared mostly, you've got the rest of the Word documents. And okay, one more tip, before we wrap up, is matching your ideas to the right funding. And this is a process that happens at the very beginning, when you have an idea and you think it's wonderful, but you don't have the money for it. And so you decide you're going to search for calls for grants or calls for funding. And like I said at the very beginning, one easy way to do this, and it might not be the best way to do it, but there are, of course, platforms, that collect or inform you about all the open calls for funding. And sometimes the institution you're in circulates, an email with all the open calls for funding. They do that at the BUE. Recently, actually, it wasn't like that before, but and that's something quite nice, for all the disciplines. So you can always check, what are the open calls and when are the deadlines, and that's, so there are platforms for this. But if you want to explore something in a different way, just type in your idea and see what you get. And you might be surprised for getting something, out of that's not expected. So, but then again, what's difficult about this approach is matching your idea with the call for funding. Sometimes the criteria is very stringent. I have come across call for grants that are very, very difficult. And sometimes the applications for the grant are online, as opposed to you writing everything and following a format that they tell you to follow, like Arial 12 Times New Roman, I don't know what, 5 inches from here. And sometimes the applications now are online, and you can save the application and go back and continue. And others would say you can't do that. So make sure you write everything out first, because once you start the application, it doesn't save and you have to submit one, straight away. So
do they have the questions? I'm sorry, but I have a question here. Do they have all the questions ready, charted for us? Or is it just like you just like get surprises? So once you submit the first page, you get questions that you didn't have in mind. So
yeah, well, yes, Dr. Ghada, that's a very good point to point out. Yes, and I've been through this before, where I've had to open the application, and sometimes it doesn't allow you to go next unless you filled in the first part and you really don't know what's coming up next. So sadly, sometimes that happens. And sometimes the application is online, but there is a PDF at the bottom where which you download and has a a guide for the application. So you kind of get an idea of what questions to expect so that you can prepare all your documents and ideas ahead. Others, the application, the one particularly that says you are allowed to save, you fill in part of it and then you save because you can't, and then you move next and then you're surprised and then you have to save because you have to prepare all the information and come back and fill it in. So there are a variety of applications and that's time consuming too, because you don't know what you're going to get. So again, also finding a funder that's relevant to your idea and your proposal is not easy. It's time consuming. Okay. It is time consuming, but in the end, yeah, I guess it's worth it. But it's a lot of hard work, just finding the right funder for your idea. And the way to do this, here are some issues to consider is, well, what's the mission of this funder? What does that funder want? I mean, is the funder looking for a research consultancy in the Middle East? And so you're the right partner, which was our case. We were right there in the Middle East, in Egypt, close to Jordan, close to Lebanon, close to Turkey, close to Iraq. And we were a higher education institution, and they wanted to take the perceptions or find out the perceptions of young Syrian refugees on higher education in the MENA region, in the host nations. And we, of course, as Egypt, I banked on the fact that we're Egypt. We can, we're in the right place geographically. So there's a lot of issues to consider when you are thinking of your grant proposal. It's not just your idea and the money. There's a lot of elements that play into your into thinking about your grant proposal, as well as writing it. And the clarity of and the quality of work that you are producing to the funder. But again, you need to think of, what does the funder want? And what sort of previous projects or research have they funded? And from their previous fundings, you can kind of get a feel of, yes, maybe my idea would fit under their funding or call for funding. And sometimes they say they will actually be very specific about who they will work with. They can say, we will work with individual researchers, or we will only work with institutions. And that in our case with the UNHCR, they didn't want to work with individuals. So I couldn't apply just as Rania and work as Rania. No, we worked with the UNHCR and the British Council in the UK on this research consultancy as an institution, as BUE, and we were working on behalf of BUE. So it had to be, and the contract is signed between the UNHCR, British Council, and the BUE. So again, you need to consider at what level are they working? Are they going to be working with you as an individual? Are they going to be working with you as a organization? Do they want you to bring in someone from industry to be with you? So that's again something you want to consider when you're matching your ideas to the right funder. Okay, and you've already received this document in the chat box. Right, I think I've come to the end of this online workshop. I mean, I would have actually liked that you had the opportunity to write a draft proposal for the call for proposals we shared, the sample. I've also sent you a sample proposal in the chat box for you to go through, and that we would talk about it and discuss it. But I know it's quite late in the evening, and it's Friday. It's a family day. And I do appreciate the time you're dedicated to this workshop. So just to culminate this workshop, can you tell me orally, and you do not have to write this down, and this can be from anyone, 5 pieces of advice for writing a winning proposal?
find the suitable funding body first.
Perfect. Thank you, Mona.
Identify your goal for the research, your immediate goal, and work around your budget.
Oh, perfect. Yes, essential. Thank you, Dr. Ghada.
The language. Take care
Oh.
that you're using the words. Yes, the key words.
Perfect. Yes. Is that Dr. Ahlam?
That was also me. Okay.
Oh, okay. All right. Okay. Yes, the language. Yes, essential. Essential. The language. Yes. 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 Yes, Dr. Ghada. The language is essential, and the quality of communication is key. The clarity of the communication is important, and the clarity of the objectives. The budget needs to be appropriate to the to the whole project and the duration of the project, as well as the skills and expertise of the principal investigator, and that would be you if you're the person writing the grant proposal, or also the person, your other team members. So
yeah, it's the strength of the team itself.
yes. Or the individual person. I mean, you could be a team, or you could be an individual, or you could be an institution.
I mean, Sahar here has a very interesting comment. She says, like, I feel we're in a fight. We have to just it's very competitive in Sahar. This is true. It's very competitive. It's not a fight or anything, but you need to really, really thinking out. You really need to do a lot of work, a lot of research, doing the thing itself before even going or starting on your research itself.
That's absolutely true. I second Dr. Ghada's comments here. It's not a fight. No, it is competitive, and I'm not someone who's competitive at all. And I don't like it. It gives me bad feelings and scares me. But in order to get a grant from an international funding body, think of it that way. If you're not competitive, that's absolutely fine. I mean, I understand where you're coming from. Just ensure that you're persuading the funder of why your idea is great, why your budget is the best budget put forward, and how it's going to save them money, but at the same time give them excellent results. The duration is realistic, and just be very specific. The more specific you are, and the more detailed you are with what you're going to be doing and how you're going to achieve it, and what's going to be achieved with how much money, then you've got a winning proposal, and it's not going to be competitive, and it's not going to be a fight at all, if that's in any way reassuring to you. Well, I think people have in the chat box all the documents they need, including the persuasive language of what to use and what not to use when writing a winning persuasive proposal for grants. You've also got the template, 2 templates actually, for writing your proposal in detail, as well as a sample proposal and a real call for proposals, and I've simply changed the name to UTIC. Thank you very much, everyone, for your participation this evening. I appreciate the time you've invested in this. I hope I've met your needs. And again, I'm sharing the fact that I'd be more than happy to support anyone who wants to get a second opinion on their grant proposal, in full confidence, if that is something you need, through Dr. Ghada, of course.
Thank you so much, Dr. Rania. It was really, really useful. And thank you for giving us your time and your expertise on the topic, which is one of the rare skills we have in our academic world. So thank you for being so courageous and doing it yourself first, and then you come back and you share it with us. So thank you for doing that. I'll be sharing my email for people if they want the documents or they want to contact you. And it's quite generous of you to offer a second eye on people's work as well. Thank you, Dr. Rania. And I would love to wish you a beautiful weekend ahead. Okay.
Thank you
Yeah.
very much, and have a good evening, everyone.
Thank you for you.
Thank you, Isra, for coming. Thank you. Okay, so أشوفكم على خير, and this is bye bye everybody. So thank you for coming, everyone. Thank you. شكرا دكتور رانيا. Off you go. تصبحوا على خير. Bye bye.